Hello ladies, welcome back to Self Love TV, and I'm here tonight with another video. Guys, I really actually recorded a video previous to this one, but I decided that I wanted this video to air before the video that I recorded first, so they're going to be kind of out of order. So this video is on Thursday. I think I recorded that video maybe Monday or Tuesday. I'm not really sure what day it was, but anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you this because you wouldn't have known, but I just think I should tell you, just because in case something is said that might make it seem like it's out of place. I think that's why I'm telling you. But anyway, I hope you ladies are doing well tonight, and thank you for tuning back in. And let me say thank you to all of the ladies who are jumping over from my other channels and subscribing. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate it if you share it with the people. And I just like to see people come over, and I love to see the sisterhood and people uniting and supporting and just working through this thing that we go through as women. I love seeing that. So I want to just say how much I'm touched by that. You guys are just amazing. Y'all are amazing sisters. I love you from the bottom of my heart. And it's needed right now in this time that we're going through. There's a lot going on. Every day it seems like it's something, and it's a struggle. And I had to take a break from my other channel just because I just needed to rest and to think and to sit. You know, being an empath, which I am, you know, sometimes you can get overwhelmed by a lot of emotions. And when you have people who depend on you, and I have a lot of family members who depend on me for conversation and helping them or listening to them. And sometimes I just need that moment where I can just chillax and just figure some things out for myself, you know, what I'm dealing with, and just trying to actually figure out what's going on in this world and the state of it and what my moves need to be and all of that. So, you know, all these different things on my plate with school and work and my channels, I thought maybe I could take a break, and, you know, this is part of my assignment. So this is helping me with my class as well as with us as women, because I think all women need some type of encouragement or motivation or some type of inspiration or healing, because we have so much that we do. We have so much on our plates. So tonight we're going to be talking about the little girl inside of us. That little girl that resides inside of us. All of us have that. I don't know if you believe that or not, but we all have a little girl, that little girl from our childhood that resides in us. And that person in us has been wounded and hurt. Sometimes it doesn't happen until you're at a teenage stage. Sometimes it happens earlier, but there are often some things that we have carried from that little girl up into our adulthood that hinders us from being able to completely love ourselves. There are some things that we did not heal from, that we did not address as a young child. And I know some of it runs deep. Some of us have been victims of some serious situations, whether it was physical abuse, rape, incest, verbal, mental, emotional abuse, being codependent to other people who have issues. And so a lot of times, subconsciously, even if you feel like you're strong and that you made it, a lot of times we're carrying those wounds, them open wounds from our childhood into adulthood. And that is why we cannot completely surrender to looking at ourselves and loving ourselves completely. Sometimes we feel like we're not worthy of it. And we're going to deal with that. We're going to look at that. My hopes is this. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor in any way. But what I've learned through the courses that I've taken is that we can't be afraid to look at the things that has hurt us from our past. We have to look at it. We have to address it in order to move forward. The more you try to bury things, the only thing that happens is that at some point it resurfaces. And sometimes it surfaces in different areas of our lives. It could be in your parenthood, you being a mother. It could be in your marriage. It could be in your relationship with your partner, or it could be in a relationship with a girlfriend. It could be in your work. But it will resurface in some way if you don't deal with it. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to just take a peek into some things in our childhood, and let's see what we can come up with. As we take a look back at our childhood, think about all of the experiences that you had as a young girl. Most of us are like sponges. We can absorb everything that would happen around us. We look at the behavior of our parents or whoever it was that raised you, the environment that you grew up in, the community, the schools you went to, the types of friends you had, the things that happened to you. You were like a sponge. You're just absorbing that. Religion, you know, some of us, like myself, I grew up in a very religious family. So all of those things affect the way that you are once you become an adult, because everything that you see, you absorb in, and it shapes your character, the type of person that you are. And sometimes those things are not always positive. Sometimes they're negative. And I think I've shared briefly in a couple videos that I come from a home where there was a lot of violence, a lot of domestic violence with my parents, my stepfather, my mom. I also come from a family of alcoholism. So as a child, I was victim to watching and seeing that every day on some level of different things. And even though I didn't know it at the time, those things were shaping and molding me. You know, it was affecting the way that I would see life and relationships. And oftentimes we don't know that as a child. You wouldn't know that as a child. But as you grow up, your behavior is directly impacted by the things that you've seen as a child. So you think about that in your life today, in choices that you make, in relationships that you have with men, in relationships you have with girlfriends. You know, I know some women that have a hard time having just simple friendships with women. And a lot of that has to do with things that they grew up seeing, the environments that they were in, the relationships that they saw their mother, their siblings with. Those have directly affected them in the relationships that they've had now. Whether you're the type of person that's untrusting, or you're the type of person who feels like you have to get what you get, you have to be selfish and get everything that you have. It could be because growing up in a home where you was never able to have things. Maybe you was always fighting to have things. And so your mentality has shifted as such that you have to try to fight for everything. And it's you against the world. And a lot of times that is what affects you growing up. Me, for instance, as a child, I knew that I had to be tough. I knew that I had to be strong. I knew it wasn't any room for me to cry because I saw too much. A lot of things was happening around me, and I knew that in order to survive, I had to be strong. So as I grew up as a young teenager, I'll say from the ages of maybe 14 to 17, I was a very angry little girl. You know, anything could make me angry because I saw a lot that kept me angry in my younger adolescence years. And I often felt like I had to be tough, and I had to let people see that tough exterior. So when you sit down and you think about it and go back and think about the things that you experienced as a young girl, and you know, it could have started younger. It could be 3, 4, 5. You know, I can remember incidents of my parents from as early as 5 years old. So when you think about those things, think about all the experiences, whether they're good or bad, that has somehow shaped you into the woman that you've become. Because a lot of those things they're frozen in time inside of you. And at some point, just like things that you bury, you know, you might want to sweep something under the rug, but eventually it surfaces. That's what happens. It's just like carpet, dirt and carpet. Eventually you might clean it, but that deep down dirt end up lifting to the top. So anything that you've buried as a child eventually will come to the surface, and it's going to come out in some area of your life. It definitely will. See, oftentimes we're not aware of it because we have built these protective barriers around us that has shielded us. And a lot of times it's buried so deep that you can't even remember it. That's why sometimes women who have been raped as young girls, they have buried it so deep that they've actually forgotten about it. And it takes something in their lives as an adult or later on as they age that will trigger that memory, and then it comes flooding back. So sometimes your pain can be so deep rooted within you that you can't remember it. And all of this has a way of impacting your life and the way that you feel about yourself, because probably as a young child you was not happy because of some of the things that might have happened to you. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be things like abuse or rape or incest or anything of that nature. Maybe you was one sibling among many. You could have come from a big family, and a lot of times children have a tendency to feel unloved because there's so many kids to love. I've often heard my children say, I felt this one was your favorite, because maybe that person required a little bit more attention than the others. Not necessarily always the parents trying to give more attention to one child over the other, but sometimes that particular child could have more things that you have to see about than the others. You might have children that are really easygoing, or you could have kids that tend to need more attention. So oftentimes that has happened in childhood, where maybe you wasn't getting the attention or you didn't feel as loved. But whatever it is, a lot of times it has to do with something that has happened along your path growing up. And if it wasn't as a child, it could be as a young lady, when you actually experienced dating for the first time, your first relationship. So in your journey of self-healing and love and loving yourself, let's take a look back at some of the experiences that we've had to try to find out where we started to feel like we didn't love ourselves, or we started to feel like we wasn't worthy or we wasn't good enough. It has to have a start point, and you have to go back and look at it in order to address it and to work on yourself. So I have some homework that I want you all to do, and this is just for your personal, keepsake, just something for you private to think about and look at. And I have 3 questions I want you to think about and ask yourself. First of all, I want you to try to find a picture of yourself as a young girl. If you can go back as far as maybe about 7 years old, if you can find one. If not, just find one of a very young age, not a teenager. Try to find a picture of yourself at a young age. And these are the 3 questions. I want you to look at that picture, and these are the 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself. What do you remember about her? That's number 1. Number 2 is, what did she enjoy doing? When did she play? And what did she do for fun? So that's just one question, but answer those particular questions within that one. What did she enjoy doing? Where did she play? And what did she do for fun? And number 3 is, how would you treat her, love her, and nurture her now? That's the little girl. Go back and think about the little girl in you when you were 7, or I'll say 7 to 10, and ask yourself those questions. And if you can journal it down or write it down somewhere and answer those questions and think about those questions. Really think about those questions. What do you remember about her? What are some key things you remember about that little girl? You, the little girl. What do you remember about her? What did she do for fun? How did she play? And how would you treat her now? How would you nurture her? And think about that. Think about those things. And we're going to come back in a later video and we're going to talk about those. One of the things that we have to look at is that, when we become mothers, wives, there's a certain type of attitude that we have to put up, persona that we have to have, because we have those responsibilities to be a mom and a wife. So there's like a blueprint of how you should be. But who were you before you were a mother or a wife? What were some of the things that you aspired to be? Did you reach those things before you became a mother or a wife? Did you achieve some of the things that you wanted to do with your life? We have to reach back and we got to figure out, did we miss anything in life? Did we have an opportunity to enjoy some things about just us and growing and learning? Because we got to tap into where that gap, where that hole became, where we stopped loving ourselves. Oftentimes you see a lot of women who go to these makeover shows and they just kind of give up on themselves once they become mothers, and they kind of let themselves go, and they don't really care how they look, and so their friend or somebody send them to have this makeover. What is it about women that make us get to the point where even though we have a big schedule, we might have a lot of things on our plate, but we forget about us. We forget to take care of us. We forget to love us and to make sure that we're getting all that we need. We got to figure out why we do that, because even being a mom, It doesn't require you to forget about you. It does not require you to forget about you. I know we've been taught that. That's something that we're taught, that when you become a mom, nothing else matters but being a mom. You put your child first, and I do agree with that to a certain degree, but that does not mean to forget about you. So we're going to address those things in the next video, and I hope that I get some comments and some feedback in the comment section below, and let's talk about it. We're on the journey of self-love, and I hope you will stick with me. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and if this is your first time coming through, please subscribe by hitting that subscribe button. I hope that you would love to be a part of this discussion of self-love as we as women, dig into our lives, dig into some of the painful corners of our life to figure out where we fell off and how we can get back on track to loving ourselves. So thank you for tuning in tonight, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, always peace and love, and I'll see you real soon.